got to start off with some breaking news here on this show as it pertains to Arch Manning. On the eve of the NFL draft, we're looking ahead to future drafts with Texas quarterback Arch Manning. Here's more from our Chip Brown of Horns 24/7.
I spoke to Cooper Manning about Arch's, segue into becoming the starter at Texas and, what his life has been like up to this point. And Cooper Manning is a guy who's in no hurry. And I think that Arch is in the same vein. I mean, he's a guy who, was content to go to Texas and learn and grow behind Quinn Ewers. He didn't want to go somewhere where he had to be the savior. He's not in a rush. And Cooper Manning said, look, these expectations for him are crazy. They're ridiculous, he said. And the fact that Arch Manning is the betting favorite right now to win the Heisman, and Texas is one of the top two teams to become the 2025 national champion, according to the Las Vegas odds. He says it's ridiculous. Everybody needs to slow down. And so I think Arch Manning is a guy who is kind of unconventional. He turns 20 on April 27th. And he knows that his uncles, Peyton was at Tennessee for 4 years. Eli Manning was at Ole Miss for 5 years. I think there's just as much of a chance for Arch Manning to be the number one pick in the 2026 NFL draft as there is for him to come back to Texas and play football in 2026. So this is all going to depend on what we see on the field, as it should be. But he loves being at Texas. His younger brother Hyde is there, and so he's unconventional. I wouldn't bet on him coming out after this season.
Sounds like Cooper Manning, Arch Manning are both in no hurry to enter the NFL draft. Do you think that this is the right approach? Why?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a Manning approach. And Chip said it, right? With Peyton 4 years at Tennessee, Eli 5 years at Ole Miss. You think about Arch Manning, his recruitment going back to it. It was really hard to get any type of information, what was going on in that recruitment. They were very meticulous, very process-oriented about how they kind of approached everything that they were going through. And then you think about the quarterbacks this day and age, there have been guys that have had a lot of success. The odds-on favorite to be the number one pick tomorrow night is a guy that played at 3 different programs. There's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. You look at next year, what that could look like. Garrett Nussmeier, a guy that has stayed, developed at LSU. Drew Aller, the same at Penn State. Cade Klubnik at Clemson right now. There's a lot to be said for guys that can develop. And I think what you heard there from Chip talking to Cooper Manning was some cold water on the expectations. This is a guy that still hasn't even been a full-time starter yet. We've seen glimpses of him, some highs, some lows as well. But this is a guy that needs to play, experience a little turbulence, and grow up, right? And like he said, he'll turn 20 next week. So there is a lot of growth, development in football that needs to be played for Arch Manning. And the other part about this, if you're just looking ahead, the Mannings are not going to rush Arch to put him in a situation that's going to compromise his long-term sustainability in the NFL. And we saw that really with Eli getting traded out of San Diego to the New York Giants, that blockbuster trade with Phillip Rivers. So this is going to be, I think, one of those situations. It's going to be touch and go. If he goes out there this year, he goes to New York, they're in the Heisman race, they make a run in the playoffs, then Arch has a lot to consider. I think it's one of those things, how do you marry up where he is in his physical development along with, did he accomplish the personal goals that he set out for himself, which are very, very lofty when he went to Texas. And a lot of that has to do with winning a national championship. So I think this is more evaluated on a year-to-year basis, even with the news that I think we all knew. Not a shock. He'd be happy to stay at Texas for another year.
Coop, they've done this before. And when you look at it, it's not like this is a family that's just rushing into everything. Like you said, process-driven family. And a part of their process is quarterback development. They have to see him go through every single scenario, adversity, good and bad, to come out of it. Because what Cooper, Peyton, Eli, and Grandpa Archie, they've always done is sit back and say, okay, how do we reset this button every single year so we can get the best definition of what a true franchise quarterback looks like? We don't need to rush this process. All we need to do is take our time, let them grow. Unlike everybody else is bouncing around, like you said, from school to school to school, they've actually sat down and learned the entire process of the quarterback position. And again, they're not just looking at it only from the football standpoint. They're looking at it also from a branding and a marketing standpoint. So even if he plays well next year, Coop, and wins the Heisman, they win a national championship, if the team that's taken number one, they don't like that market, you know what they did last time. They traded out, or they just say no bueno and come back for another year.
It's really going to be interesting if any other quarterbacks and decision makers kind of look at this blueprint, which is not shocking. We're going to give the Mannings a lot of credit, but there's other quarterbacks that have done this. And even if you transfer, getting 2 years in the same system, you and I were talking about that earlier. That's what happened with Jaden Daniels in Baton Rouge, Bo Nix in Eugene. It's the same thing. Having continuity is really important for these quarterbacks to develop. The other part of this that I thought about, 2027, can you imagine if Arch Manning comes out being the GM that has to decide between Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, Arch Manning? I mean, at least for the top 5 right now, I know it's early. Be an insane draft.
Yeah.
So you didn't even want to throw Nico in there. It could
Not
be
at
that.
this point.
Okay.
Not at
Maybe.
this point.
Maybe.
Not at this
We might have that Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf.
Oh, man.